Dear students, Sai Ram to you all. Welcome to this session on market equilibrium. Let us discuss today the simultaneous shift in demand and supply curve rightward. And when we say simultaneous shift, there are four possible ways. The first one, both supply and demand shift rightward, that means both in the same direction. The second possibility, both supply and demand curve shift leftward. This is also in the same direction but leftward. The third possibility, the supply curve shift leftward and demand curve shift rightward. This is opposite to each other. The fourth one, the supply curve shift rightward, demand curve shift leftward. This also opposite direction to each other. And we are going to discuss in this slide both the supply curve and the demand curve shift rightward at a time. Here, when you say rightward, what do you mean by that? Both the demand also increase and the supply also increase. That means when both the demand and supply curve shift rightward, we can conclude that quantity will increase. And now we are going to discuss impact of simultaneous rightward shift of supply and demand curves on equilibrium price and quantity. What is the effect of this shift on equilibrium quantity and the price? That we have seen that quantity will increase. There will be no doubt because both shift rightward. But as far as price is concerned, equilibrium price either may increase or decrease or remain unchanged. The reason is it depends on the magnitude of this shift. That means when we say magnitude, whether the magnitude shift of demand is greater than magnitude shift of supply or less than magnitude demand shift is less than magnitude shift of supply or equal. It depends on the magnitude. We will see in detail further. But when we say the magnitude, it may be increase in demand may be equal to increase in supply. That means the magnitude of shift in demand is equal to magnitude of shift in supply. In that case, that is the first case. We will see in the diagram later. The second case may be the magnitude of increase in demand is greater than the magnitude of increase in supply. That means the increase in shift in demand outweighs the increase in shift in supply. The third case, the increase in demand, maybe the magnitude of increase in demand is less than the magnitude of increase in supply. What you can say in this case? In other words, we can say the increase in supply outweighs the increase in demand. These three cases we are going to see separately in the form of a diagram. We can say case 1, increase in demand is equal to increase in supply. This diagram clearly explains you what will happen when the increase in demand is equal to increase in supply to the equilibrium after shift and before shift. Before shift, you can see the demand curve DD0. Before shift, supply curve is SS0. DD0, SS0. You can see DD0 intersects the SS0 at the point E. Here. Now after shift, you see the rightward shift. Both are shifting rightward. But the magnitude of the shift is same. That is what equal. Now after shift, you are getting SS1 and the DD1. The new after shift demand is DD1. After shift supply is SS1. Where they intersect? They intersect at this point. I will explain this one further with the same diagram in the next slide. You can see here at F we have already seen after shift SS1 the supply curve, after shift DD1 is the supply curve. Now the new equilibrium is F. New equilibrium is F. And what will happen in what happens in the new equilibrium? You can see the price. You compare with the initial equilibrium. After shift also, before shift also, equilibrium price remains same. Equilibrium price didn't change. It is OP. This vertical distance, because price is on x-axis, y-axis, the quantity supplied and demanded on x-axis. Always before you explain your concept in the form of a diagram, you have to label the diagram. That is the first thing we have to do, because without label no one can understand what is there in the diagram. And therefore price on the y-axis, you can see OP remains same before the shift, after the shift. What happens? Quantity supplied and demanded. You can see equilibrium quantity rises from OQ to OQ1 because its rightward shift, it increases from there. Therefore, what you can conclude, when there's an increase in demand is equal to increase in supply, then price will remain unchanged, quantity increases. This is the conclusion. The second one, the increase in demand is greater than increase in supply. The magnitude of shift in demand, you can see the magnitude of shift. It is a big large arrow shows the original demand curve shifts to rightward to DD1. The dotted line DD1 shows after shift. The demand is this. In supply curve SS0, you can see a small arrow shows the size of the shift or magnitude of the shift, a new supply curve SS1. You know original equilibrium E, because DD0 intersect SS0, initial supply curve, initial demand curve both intersect at this point, and the initial price is P. And we will see in the next diagram what has happened at our new equilibrium. The same diagram I bring because more to make understand very clearly. I want to write again this new equilibrium is F. We have seen already. What happens at the new equilibrium F? You know, the price, it a little increase in price, upward price. Increase price upward. And what happened? Quantity, no problem, it is clear. That is what we say. As far as price is concerned, we can't definitely say whether price increase or decrease or equal. That is what price is called as indeterminate. Price will be indeterminate or ambiguous because we can't say clearly which is price increase or price decrease. But quantity is very clear, determined way we can say it is increases. And what about price rises? In this case, price rises. You know, it is clear because when the demand increase, the magnitude of the demand outweigh the supply. You know, when there's a more demand and supply less, that is a situation of excess demand. Then always you can say price rises. Even without the diagram, you should say logically. When there's increase in demand is greater than increase in supply, you have to say automatically price will go high. And that is what OP2, OP1. Then equilibrium quantity, that we know both increase, therefore equilibrium quantity rises, that also rises from, because it's a determined way we can say always rises. But as far as price concerned, may rise, may remain unchanged, or it may decrease also. The next case we will see the decrease in, you know, the increase in demand less than the increase in supply. That means here the supply outweighs the demand. You know, when the supply is more than the demand, you can definitely say price will decline. That we are going to explain with the diagram. You can see here our original demand DD0, new demand DD1, and after shift, rightward shift. See the magnitude of the supply curve shift. A big shift, a big distance it shifts downward, rightward. But demand shift rightward a little distance, the magnitude is less. And initial equilibrium SS0, DD0 intersects at this point E. This is the initial equilibrium. And the new equilibrium after shift is dotted line DD1 and the SS1. You have to be very clear. After shift, only the new equilibrium. Both the curves you have to identify. Which is the after shift demand curve DD1. Which is the supply curve after shift SS1. Therefore, the new equilibrium, when the both after shift, when they intersect, you will get the new equilibrium. But you can see price decrease. We will explain with the new another diagram, another slide. That same diagram only, but for the make clarity, I bring here and write also. You see the demand is lesser shift, but the supply is more. We have already seen, and you can see the original equilibrium E, and the price is at original equilibrium P. Because DD0, SS0. After shift, SS1 intersects DD1. What happens here? Price decline. Price decline to P1. Price decline to P1 at this point. And what you can say, quantity, no problem. It is clear. It increases rightward. Quantity increases rightward. Therefore, what you can say in the new equilibrium, price falls. Therefore, we have seen the different prices. Once it was remain same when both the increase in demand, increase in supply equal. In the second case, we have seen increase in demand greater than increase in supply, price rises. Now you can see price falls. That's what we say in this case. When both the supply and demand curve shift rightward, quantity increases, price will indeterminate or ambiguous. That means may increase, may decrease, may remain unchanged. Here you can see it falls from OP to OP1. I hope you understood. And the quantity always rises. OP2. This is the explanation for this. Due to the rightward shift, this this is just a fill in the blank and 2 marks question, and this one you please try to finish this, and thank you. Sai Ram to you all.